called prism glass was designed to take the rays of light and reflect it even farther back in the building so that you take full advantage of the natural light. A lot of these buildings have skylights towards the back, or about halfway through, to again allow additional natural light. The skylights in many cases open, so you get cross ventilation, so you get the wind coming through to kind of help cool off a little bit. Certainly not the sealed hermetic environment we're used to today, but it's much better. It does provide for airflow. So those transoms have been there for a very long time. Not since the original construction, certainly, but they have been there for a long time. So if someone decides to alter the storefront, they need to consider that, because that is an historic element. It has history with the building now. So let's walk on down this way and we'll look at some more. As we walk this way, I'm going to try and walk backwards because I don't think I'll run into anybody or anything or get run over. We talked about the three changes in the late 19th century that really affected the way storefronts were designed and built: cast iron, plate glass, and pressed metal. And we're going to start seeing some examples of that. Now, the earliest storefronts in America, and certainly anywhere, were fairly residential in scale, with small windows, small panes of glass, simple doors, not a whole lot of room for display of goods and merchandise, not a whole lot of way to get people interacted with what was going on in the shop to get them off the street to buy. There's a lot of that is always going on. The earliest examples, like we kind of saw trying to be done at that building down there, that was done in places like Williamsburg in this country, fairly small panes of glass, but a lot of it. It's sort of bowed out to kind of interrupt your flow on the sidewalk so you see what's going on. As technology progressed in the 19th century, it became possible to produce bigger and bigger pieces of glass, which was wonderful for a shop front because you get more and more display area to see the goods and to get the light, and that's what they wanted. In addition to that, you had the development of cast iron, which can hold up a whole lot more weight than heavy brick piers can. Therefore, what do you get when you put those two together? You get less support, more glass, more display, more light, more of what the merchant wants. So you see those two come together beautifully. You're going to see a lot of great examples of that as we go around the square, the use of cast iron and large plate glass storefronts. The other is the pressed metal. You see it a lot on the interior of buildings, mainly commercial buildings and sometimes houses. It's often referred to like a pressed tin ceiling. It's not tin, it's actually a sheet steel or iron coated with a turn type of a coating to keep it from rusting. It's not really tin, but that's okay. But as architectural historians, and being a little bit particular, we call it pressed metal, which is a little more generic. But that came about the same period. And you even find storefronts in some communities that are entirely covered, first and second floor of the building, not just the storefront, with pressed metal. So you really see it coming into its own. So as we go down, I want you to be aware of what we're looking for and start looking for some of this. And as you travel, walk around other towns, as you continue to walk around the square in Oxford, notice these cast iron storefronts, because many of them have plaques on the bottom as to who manufactured them. Chickasaw Iron Works in Memphis did a lot of storefronts that got sent on the train down through North Mississippi. Wherever the trains went, you're probably going to find a Chickasaw Iron Works storefront. Livermore Foundry is another one in Memphis that there are 2 or 3 examples of the square on today. A lot of the storefronts aren't marked, but you can tell what they are because they're very similar in design to others. That doesn't mean that everyone that looks that way was done by Chickasaw, but the odds are that it probably was by them or by someone, copying them. So as we come on down this way, this is the first one I want to point out. Now obviously, the storefront itself has been altered, but the open plate glass, the transom area, is a nice idea of what would have been there historically, even though that isn't the original, obviously, because there would have been an entrance somewhere. Notice the cast iron threshold all along there, which makes me wonder if there weren't 3 sets of entrance doors, because some earlier storefronts, and you still see it some in this period, were composed of what we would call French doors that fold back against the wall and the pilasters, so when you walk down, instead of having a plate glass display window, you get like an open arcade, so you're automatically in the store as you walk on the sidewalk. But none of those survive in Oxford. You'd have to look at historic photographs to see. But with the cast iron threshold all the way, it makes you wonder. But you'll notice this very elaborate fretwork behind this cast iron octagonal column. This is one of the things Chickasaw Iron Works did a lot. And they did a lot of different patterns. And I don't know if any of the patterns on the square are identical or not. But they'll have this wonderful filigree sort of lace work made out of very heavy, durable cast iron, but it's a very elegant little effect that you might not notice if you didn't look around the corner. And again, Right next door, you see how that one is very elaborate. This one is just a little bit different, a little bit more simple, almost like a figure 8 in the middle, but similar, but they're not the same. So it's a very elegant. This cast iron threshold has been altered or lost completely. I don't think any of it, maybe a tiny bit of it's there. But again, with the storefront, they did try to keep sort of a wooden bulkhead, which is this part below, which is usually wood, the large display window, and the transom. That's the 3 parts you'll see in a commercial storefront. You can see through the window, through the transom, the pressed metal ceiling. All the very elaborate detailing. It looks like very finely done plaster. Of course, that was the idea. Doing hand-done plaster work in a ceiling is very expensive. You can get the same effect a lot cheaper with pressed metal. Now, before we cross over, I want you to look at that building. I talked earlier about the balconization, excuse the pun, of Oxford. That is, we believe, the only original balcony on a building on the square. This long on the side here with the wooden chamfered posts on both levels, the stair going to the 2nd floor, that is original. There are others around the square. I know one was recreated. Some of the others may be original too. But we do know, because this was documented as being there in 1978 when the nomination was done, as being original. So we have a very good indication that that has been there since probably the 1870s or 80s when the building was constructed. And we'll go over in a minute and look at the cast iron storefront, but I want you to look at the windows on the 2nd floor with the wonderful window hoods over the store windows there. This building is probably missing its pressed metal cornice because there's a lot of space between the top of those windows and the top of the wall, and I just don't see a 19th century builder leaving that alone. And when they could have taken a catalog and ordered any cornice they wanted and put on the railroad, I'm pretty sure it's missing its cornice, but I couldn't say that and put it back without any proof. As a preservationist, you got to have physical, which you may find some under the stucco, but I don't know if we want to go to that extreme. Looking for old photographs would probably indicate that there was something there. And you can get those cornices recreated. It's easier than it used to be. Another thing I want to point out, those windows on the 2nd floor don't look quite right. I believe they've been replaced. That happens an awful lot in residential houses, residential buildings, but on commercial buildings too. People will think when a window, the paint starts to peel, the pane's a little loose, oh, throw it out, we'll get the brand new Ergon infiltrated 3 glass panes, titanium clad window, and it'll be great and we'll save all this money. Well, unfortunately, that's not true. Preservationists don't have the budget that the window manufacturers do. But windows, we're looking at 300-year-old technology, still put together the same way they were originally. You can put them back together, put the glass in there, put some new window putty in there, paint them, and they're fine. And they will last another 150 years. And as far as energy efficiency, you can get a higher rate of energy efficiency and a quicker return on your investment by repairing those windows and putting a simple storm window over it, either inside or outside. Most of your heat loss is not through your windows, it's through your attic and through your basement. So just a little preservation point. But there's something, those window muttons, which is the wooden part, look flat, and it just doesn't look right. All right, let's go ahead and cross because I want to point this storefront out. And before we go that far, this is a good corner. We're not going to go down that street. I'm trying to keep this to about an hour. First of all, notice the very nice chamfered columns here, which that means a square post that the corner's been smoothed down to give it 8 faces. It's called a chamfer, so it's a very nice detail that's very easy to do, but a little more finished than just a simple wooden post. And this is something people can't help themselves. Sometimes they want to overdo when they redo an historic building. They want to gild the lily. They want to add. They want to make it fancier than it ever was. There's an awful lot of charm in a well-done, simple design. So bear that in mind. I want to point out that building with the 2-story portico down there with the square columns. That is an 1850s Greek Revival townhouse, very close to the square, which I've heard a lot of people remark about how it survived being wood frame this close to the square when virtually the entire square was burned. Stranger things have happened, but it is there. The portico was recreated a few years ago. In the late 19th century, it was taken off and a 2-story porch put all the way across the front. But they knew it had a portico from historic photographs. They were able to recreate that. That is the classic North Mississippi Greek Revival. A classic North Mississippi Greek Revival mansion. Roanoke looks like that. The other houses from that period in town look like that. A two-story portico with 4 square paneled columns. And you'll find that configuration